Most people believe the most valuable United States coin ever sold reached $18 million, and that the story ends there. But that belief is exactly what hides the truth. In this video, you will uncover 10 legendary U.S. coins whose combined rarity, survival, and demand place them far beyond 20 million United States dollars in historical value, coins that were never meant to exist, never meant to survive, and in some cases were ordered destroyed by the government itself. Stay with me until the very end, because the final coin does not just hold the highest auction record in American history, it reveals how money, power, and history collided in a way that can never happen again. Number 1. Most people believe a 1-cent coin can never carry real power, but there is a quiet wheat penny from 1917, struck in San Francisco, that proves how wrong that belief can be when survival, timing, and elite condition come together in a way almost no one expects. This coin was born during a moment when the United States was stepping into World War I. And the San Francisco Mint was focused on speed and volume, not perfection, producing cents that were meant to be spent immediately, not preserved for future collectors. What makes the 1917's wheat penny extraordinary is that it does not rely on a dramatic error or famous variety, but on something far more unforgiving, because nearly every example was worn down in circulation, leaving only a tiny number that escaped with sharp detail, clean surfaces, and original copper color. Collectors who truly understand this coin know it is a condition rarity at the highest level, where even the smallest difference in preservation separates ordinary survivors from elite examples that command intense attention. And this raises an important question: have you ever looked closely enough at a wheat penny to notice what really matters? As decades passed and grading standards became stricter, advanced collectors began competing aggressively for the finest known survivors, quietly pushing demand higher as top-tier 1917's cents disappeared into long-term collections. This is where the story becomes truly compelling, because when one of these elite coins appears, it is no longer treated as spare change from history, but as a rare survivor of a harsh production era, representing how few coins were ever meant to look this good more than 100 years later. Have you ever considered how many coins were lost forever before collectors even understood what to look for? And could that explain why demand continues to rise as opportunities become fewer and farther between? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because the highest verified auction result for a 1917's Lincoln wheat penny occurred when an exceptional red designated example crossed the auction block in the year 2007, where fierce competition drove the final price beyond 36,000 United States dollars, confirming its place among the most valuable regular-issue San Francisco wheat pennies ever sold. Now it is your turn. Do you own a wheat penny that you have never had professionally evaluated? Do you believe elite condition alone can continue driving demand higher for early San Francisco issues? And which wheat penny year or mint mark should be exposed next? Because your comment could shape the next video and spark a long discussion among collectors. Number 2. Most people think they already know the story of the 1955 wheat penny, but very few realize that one specific no-mint mark example has become one of the most watched, most discussed, and most aggressively chased Lincoln cents in the entire history of United States coin collecting. The 1955 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a post-war economic boom, a time when coin production was under intense pressure, and that environment quietly set the stage for one of the most legendary moments ever to occur in American numismatics. What immediately sets this coin apart is not its age alone, but the dramatic die production circumstances that allowed a small number of pennies to escape with bold, unmistakable characteristics that even non-collectors can recognize once they know what to look for. This coin is famous for its strong visual presence, with Lincoln's portrait appearing powerful and eye-catching, and in its most desirable form the date and lettering display a striking doubled appearance that turns this penny into one of the most iconic era coins ever released into circulation. Collectors often ask themselves if they have already handled one of these without realizing it, and that question alone has driven millions of people to recheck old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten penny rolls. Because condition and variety completely transformed this coin's identity in the high-end collector market. Demand for top-quality 1955 no-mint mark wheat pennies is relentless, especially when examples show strong original color, sharp detail, and professional certification. Since registry collectors compete fiercely for the finest surviving specimens, the highest verified auction price confirms just how powerful this coin becomes at the elite level. With a spectacular 1955 Lincoln wheat penny with the famous double die obverse selling for over $114,000 at heritage auctions in a major United States sale during the late 2010s, permanently cementing its status as a numismatic legend. For expert collectors, the smartest strategy is to focus on authenticity, eye appeal, and certification, because true examples with strong visual doubling and preserved surfaces remain among the most liquid and respected Lincoln cents in the entire market. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever checked your 1955 pennies closely? Do you believe this coin is still hiding in collections today? And which wheat penny year should I analyze next? Because your comment could guide the next deep dive on this channel. Number 3. Most people think wartime coins are common and ordinary. But there is one Jefferson nickel struck in 1943 at the Philadelphia Mint that proves how dangerous that assumption can be when condition, survival, and collector demand align at the highest level. This coin was born during World War II, when the United States was fighting on multiple fronts and nickel was urgently needed for the war effort, forcing the mint to change the composition and strike these coins under pressure, speed, and necessity rather than long-term quality. The 1943 P. Jefferson nickel with the Monticello reverse looks familiar at first glance, but what makes it extraordinary is that it was struck on a silver-based wartime alloy, and nearly every example entered heavy circulation immediately, leaving very few that survived with sharp strikes, full steps on Monticello, and untouched original surfaces. Collectors who truly understand this coin know that its power lives in condition rarity. Because the difference between an average survivor and an elite example is massive, especially when full steps are present, raising an important question. Have you ever looked closely at Monticello to see if every step is still there? As decades passed, grading standards tightened and registry competition intensified, pushing advanced collectors to chase only the very finest known examples, quietly turning this wartime nickel into one of the most aggressively pursued condition rarities of the Jefferson series. This is where the story becomes truly compelling, because when a top-tier 1943 P. Jefferson nickel appears, it is no longer treated as a common wartime issue, but as a survivor of extreme production stress, representing how few coins were ever meant to look this good after more than 80 years. Have you ever considered how many of these coins were melted, spent, or worn down beyond recognition before collectors even realized what separated ordinary pieces from elite ones? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because the highest verified auction result for a 1943 P. Jefferson nickel with the Monticello reverse occurred when a stunning full steps example crossed the auction block at a major United States auction in the year 2021, where fierce bidding pushed the final price beyond $30,000 United States dollars, confirming its place among the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever sold. Now it is your turn. Do you own a wartime Jefferson nickel that you have never examined for full steps? Do you believe condition alone can continue driving demand higher for silver-era nickels? And which Jefferson nickel year or mint mark should be exposed next? Because your comment could shape the next video and spark a long discussion among collectors. Number 4. Most people believe the 1964 Jefferson nickel is one of the most ordinary coins ever made. But one Denver Mint issue quietly proves how wrong that assumption can be when survival, strike quality, and elite condition collide at the highest level. This coin was struck during one of the most chaotic moments in modern United States coinage, when Americans were hoarding silver. Production pressure exploded, and the Denver Mint was forced to strike nickels at full speed, with precision taking a back seat to volume. What makes the 1964 D. Jefferson nickel extraordinary is that nearly every example was rushed into circulation, leaving very few that survived with sharp detail, clean fields, and the kind of strike quality collectors now fight over. Advanced collectors understand that this is not a rarity of mintage, but a rarity of survival. Because finding one with fully defined steps on Monticello, strong eye appeal, and untouched surfaces is dramatically harder than most people ever imagine. This coin separates casual collectors from serious competitors, because at the highest levels, the difference between an average piece and an elite survivor is not small, it is massive, raising an important question. Have you ever examined a Jefferson nickel closely enough to count every step on Monticello? As grading standards tightened and registry competition intensified, demand for the finest known 1964D nickels surged quietly, with top-tier examples disappearing into long-term collections where they almost never return to the market. This is where the story becomes powerful, because when a truly elite survivor appears, it is no longer treated as a common modern coin, but as proof that even the most overlooked years can produce legendary condition rarities. Have you ever wondered how many millions of these coins were struck? Yet how few exist today at a level collectors are willing to battle over? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because the highest verified auction result for a 1964D Jefferson nickel with fully defined steps occurred when a finest known caliber example crossed a major United States auction in the year 2019, where intense bidding pushed the final price beyond $40,000 United States dollars, securing its status as one of the most aggressively pursued condition rarities of the Jefferson nickel series. Now it is your turn. Do you own a 1964 Jefferson nickel that you have never examined under magnification? Do you believe condition alone can create elite value from an overlooked coin? And which Jefferson nickel or wheat penny should we expose next? Because your comment could shape the next video and ignite a serious collector discussion. Number 5. Most people believe modern dimes are completely forgettable, but one Roosevelt dime from 1975 quietly became one of the most powerful modern rarities in United States coin history, and its story still shocks even advanced collectors today. This coin was created during a time when proof coins were supposed to be perfect, controlled, and predictable, struck only for collectors at the San Francisco Mint, which is why what happened next still feels almost impossible. What makes the 1975 Roosevelt dime extraordinary is not age or metal content, but a single missing detail that should never have been absent. Because this proof dime was struck without the San Francisco Mint mark, creating a coin that officially should not exist at all, collectors quickly realized the seriousness of this mistake. Because proof coins are examined more carefully than any other United States issues, meaning errors like this are almost always caught and destroyed before leaving the mint. Yet a tiny number escaped into the world. This is the kind of rarity that instantly separates legends from ordinary collectibles, because it is not just scarce, it is fundamentally wrong in the most dramatic way, raising an important question for anyone watching right now. How does something this obvious make it past every safeguard? As the years passed and awareness grew, demand for this dime intensified dramatically, with collectors understanding that opportunities to own one are almost non-existent, and when one appears, it attracts global attention from serious buyers who know they may never see another chance. This coin is not chased because it is small or silver, it is chased because it represents a failure of perfection, a moment when the system broke, and history allowed a forbidden rarity to survive. Have you ever checked a proof dime closely enough to notice what is missing instead of what is there? And could a single absent letter be the difference between ordinary and legendary? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because the highest verified auction result for the 1975 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark occurred when an example crossed the auction block at a major United States auction in the year 2019, where fierce bidding drove the final price beyond $450,000 United States dollars, securing its place as one of the most valuable modern United States coins ever sold. Now the conversation is yours. Do you believe modern coins can still produce world-class rarities? Have you ever examined your proof coins this closely? And which legendary United States coin should be exposed next? Because your comment could shape the next video and ignite a powerful collector discussion. Number 6. Most people believe the smallest coins carry the smallest stories. But one tiny dime struck in San Francisco during the 1890s quietly became one of the most powerful and mysterious treasures in all of United States coin history. This coin was created in 1894 at the San Francisco Mint, during a time when production decisions were often undocumented, informal, and never meant to echo into the future, which makes what happened next almost impossible to fully explain. What makes the 1894 Barber dime extraordinary is that only a microscopic number were ever struck, and even today, no official mint record clearly explains why, turning this coin into a legend built on scarcity, mystery, and survival. From the very beginning, this dime was different, because while millions of other coins flowed into circulation, this one barely existed at all, leaving collectors to wonder whether it was struck for accounting purposes, political favors, or reasons lost forever to history. Collectors do not chase this coin simply because it is old, they chase it because almost every example is accounted for, tracked, and fiercely protected, making each surviving piece a known individual rather than just another coin. As decades passed, stories followed this dime, including tales of examples spent unknowingly and others locked away for generations, deepening its mystique and raising a powerful question: how many legendary treasures were once treated as ordinary change? This coin represents the ultimate form of rarity, where demand does not grow because of hype, but because opportunity nearly vanished more than a century ago, and when one appears, the entire collecting world pays attention. Have you ever imagined how a coin so small could command global attention, or how scarcity alone can elevate something simple into something untouchable? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because the highest verified auction result for the 1894 Barber dime occurred when a remarkable example crossed the auction block in the year 2016, where elite collectors battled fiercely and drove the final price beyond $1,900,000 United States dollars, confirming its status as one of the most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Now it is your turn. Did you already know a dime could reach this level? Do you believe mysteries like this still exist in modern coinage, and which legendary United States coin should be exposed next? Because your comment could shape the next video and ignite a powerful collector conversation. Number 7. Most people scroll past the 1966 Washington quarter without a second thought. But there is a reason elite collectors pause when they see one that looks just a little too sharp, a little too clean, and a little too untouched for a year that was never supposed to produce perfection. This coin comes from one of the most chaotic transitions in United States coinage history. Right after silver vanished from circulating quarters, when mint marks were deliberately removed and the mint was under enormous pressure to flood the economy with new coins as fast as possible, that pressure changed everything, because speed replaced precision, volume replaced care, and most quarters from this year were never meant to look beautiful for long, which is exactly why the story of survival becomes the heart of this coin's power. Here is the detail most people miss. The lack of a mint mark on a 1966 quarter is normal, not an error, and that misunderstanding causes many collectors to stop paying attention far too early, missing the real question that matters: how many of these coins actually survived untouched? Collectors who truly understand this issue are not hunting dates, they are hunting condition, because finding a 1966 quarter with blazing original luster, clean open fields, and a strike that still looks crisp decades later is far harder than the mintage numbers suggest. This is where curiosity takes over, because once you realize how rough mass production was during this period, you start to wonder how many of these quarters were instantly damaged, stacked, bagged, and spent before collectors ever knew what to look for. Advanced collectors do not compete for average pieces from this year, they compete for survivors that look like accidents of history, coins that somehow avoided contact marks, dull surfaces, and weak strikes when almost everything else did not. Have you ever taken a closer look at a quarter and felt that something about it looked too good for its age? And did you stop there? Or did you keep looking? As registry competition intensified and grading standards tightened, demand for the very finest 1966 quarters quietly grew, because when only a microscopic number reached the top of the grading scale, every appearance becomes an event rather than a routine sale. This is why serious collectors treat elite examples from this year as trophies, not because the coin is old, but because it represents survival against the odds during one of the most unforgiving production eras the mint ever faced. For those who stayed until this moment, the payoff finally arrives, because the highest verified auction result for a 1966 Washington quarter occurred when an extraordinary top-grade example crossed a major United States auction in the year 2023, where determined bidding pushed the final price beyond 21,000 United States dollars, proving that even overlooked years can deliver shocking outcomes at the very top. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever examined a 1966 quarter closely enough to judge its strike and surfaces? Do you believe condition alone can keep creating surprises in modern coinage? And which quarter year should we expose next? Because your comment could spark the next deep dive and keep this conversation alive. Number 8. Most people scroll past the 1965 Washington quarter without a second thought, yet this coin sits at the center of one of the most dramatic turning points in United States coin history, where chaos, speed, and survival quietly determined which coins would become ordinary and which would become extraordinary. The year 1965 was not normal for American money, because it marked the exact moment silver disappeared from circulating quarters. Mint marks were intentionally removed, and the United States Mint was under extreme pressure to replace hoarded silver coins as fast as possible, creating a production environment where perfection was never the goal. That pressure matters more than most people realize, because when speed replaces precision, almost every coin suffers, and that is why true high-grade survivors from 1965 are far scarcer than the mintage numbers suggest. Here is a detail that confuses many collectors: the lack of a mint mark on a 1965 quarter is completely normal, not an error, and the real story is not about what is missing on the coin, but about what somehow survived against overwhelming odds. Collectors who understand this issue are not chasing age or metal, they are chasing condition, because finding a 1965 quarter with blazing original luster, clean open fields, sharp design detail, and an untouched look from a year of brutal mass production is incredibly difficult, once you understand how rough handling was during this transition year. Curiosity naturally grows, because you begin to wonder how many coins were instantly marked, stacked, bagged, and spent before collectors ever realized that condition would become the true battlefield. This is where the story becomes compelling, because advanced collectors do not compete for average pieces from this year, they compete for miracles. Quarters that somehow escaped contact marks, dull surfaces, and weak strikes when millions of others did not. Have you ever picked up a quarter that felt too sharp, too clean, or too fresh for its age? And did you ever stop to ask yourself how that coin survived when almost everything else wore down? As grading standards tightened and registry competition intensified, demand for the finest known 1965 Washington quarters quietly increased. Because once only a tiny handful exist at the very top of the grading scale, every appearance becomes an event rather than a routine sale. Now here is a question that separates casual viewers from serious collectors: which United States coin has sold for the highest price in history? And what does that reveal about how rarity, history, and survival combine to create legendary value? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is revealed, because elite top population examples of the 1965 Washington quarter have achieved auction results exceeding 40,000 United States dollars, proving that even a coin most people overlook can reach serious collector levels when condition becomes exceptional. But when we talk about the highest prices ever paid for a United States coin, nothing compares to the legendary 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, which stunned the world when a legally owned example sold for more than 18 million United States dollars, proving that American coins can reach heights few people ever imagine. Now the conversation belongs to you. Do you believe modern-era coins like the 1965 Washington quarter still hide untold potential? Have you ever examined your quarters closely for true condition? And which United States coin should be analyzed next? Because your comment could spark the next deep dive and keep this discussion growing among collectors. Number 9. Most people believe the Sacagawea dollar is just a modern coin with no real surprises left. But one example struck in the year 2000 quietly became one of the most shocking modern discoveries in United States coin history, and almost no one sees it coming. This coin was born at the exact moment the United States Mint was launching a brand new dollar design, racing to introduce it to the public with massive production, marketing pressure, and experimental strikes that were never meant to create legends. What makes the 2000-piece Sacagawea dollar extraordinary is not its color or age, but the fact that a tiny number were struck with the wrong reverse design, creating a mule that combined two completely different coins into one impossible survivor. Collectors did not notice it at first, because the difference is subtle unless you know exactly what to look for, which raises a powerful question. How many world-class rarities hide in plain sight simply because they look normal at a glance? As awareness spread, the seriousness of this discovery became undeniable, because the reverse design matched the proof-only eagle intended for an entirely different coin, confirming that this dollar was never supposed to exist outside the mint at all. This is where the story explodes, because mule coins are among the most dangerous and desirable categories in all of numismatics, representing moments when the system failed in a way that can never be repeated. Advanced collectors do not debate whether this coin is important, they debate whether they will ever get another chance to own one, because known examples can be counted on one hand and are fiercely protected by elite collections. Have you ever imagined that a coin made in your lifetime could outrank classic gold rarities in desirability, simply because it should never have escaped into circulation? For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because the highest verified auction result for the 2000-piece Sacagawea dollar mule occurred when a confirmed example crossed a major United States auction in the year 2022, where intense bidding drove the final price beyond 190,000 United States dollars, securing its place as one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. Now it is your turn. Do you believe modern coins can still produce six-figure legends? Have you ever checked a Sacagawea dollar closely enough to study the eagle on the reverse? And which monster coin should we expose next? Because your comment could decide the next video, and keep this series climbing fast. Number 10. Most people believe the Susan B. Anthony dollar failed quietly and disappeared without leaving any real legacy. But one Denver Mint example from 1979 shattered that belief in a way that still confuses and shocks collectors today. This coin was born during a rush transition, when the United States Mint was experimenting with a brand new small dollar design, pushing production quickly, and handling multiple metals at the same facilities, creating the perfect environment for a mistake that should never have survived. What makes the 1979 D Susan B. Anthony dollar extraordinary is not its design or popularity, but the fact that a microscopic number were struck on the wrong planchet, using silver instead of the intended clad composition, creating a coin that officially should not exist. At first glance, this coin looks ordinary, which is exactly why it is so dangerous, because only careful examination of weight, sound, and metallic properties reveals the truth, raising a powerful question: how many impossible rarities escape notice simply because they look familiar? Collectors immediately understood the seriousness of this discovery, because wrong planchet errors from major transitions are among the most coveted mistakes in all of United States coinage, representing moments when systems failed under pressure. This is not a coin chased by casual buyers. It is chased by elite specialists who understand that once a silver planchet Susan B. Anthony dollar enters a private collection, it may never reappear again. Have you ever considered that a coin from your own lifetime could outrank classic rarities, simply because it should never have existed in the first place? As awareness grew, demand intensified, because confirmed examples could be counted on one hand, and every appearance became a once-in-a-generation event rather than a normal auction lot. For those who stayed until this moment, the reward is finally revealed, because a confirmed 1979 D Susan B. Anthony dollar struck on a silver planchet crossed a major United States auction in the year 2011, where fierce bidding pushed the final price beyond 130,000 United States dollars, securing its place among the most valuable modern-era coins ever discovered. Now it is your turn. Do you believe modern coins still hide six-figure secrets? Have you ever checked the weight or sound of a Susan B. Anthony dollar? And which monster coin should be exposed next? Because your comment could shape the next video and keep this series exploding forward.